Hi guys, it's Ashley with Love's Intuition Tarot, and for today's daily video, I thought we'd do something a little bit different, and I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about my own personal twin flame journey, what it's been like for me from basically start to finish, and what I've learned throughout the way that makes me talk to you guys about what I talk about. Before we get started, please hit the follow button, hit the like button, hit the bell if you want to know when I put out new videos, comment on this video. All of that stuff helps my dream grow and helps me able to be seen by more and share what I know with more people. As I say this too, I also do personal tarot readings. The stuff for all that's in the description box below, and right now there is a 10% discount and the code is down there as well. Okay, so getting into everything. My twin flame journey started back in September to October of 2019. That is when I met my twin. Before that, I was in a very crappy relationship, into which it was just repeating cycle after repeating cycle after repeating cycle of this person causing fights, not wanting to do the right thing, kind of overpowering me in that sort of sense, convincing me all the time that he was right and I was wrong. I was constantly being downgraded. It was bad. But I stayed with this person. Way too long. I even went back to him. And finally, after I went back, it only lasted for maybe 3, 4, 5 months, and already we were sleeping in separate beds. I mean, it was bad. When I was getting ready to, I was like, towards the end of that relationship, it was like I was starting to gain this strength, though, to leave. I felt it inside. It's the first of the sort of clairsentient type of feelings that I was really, truly feeling. It was just like this knowing that I was supposed to leave, and knowing that different opportunities were being put in front of me on purpose that were going to help me get there. Like towards the end of that relationship, right? I started looking for a new job. And once I came across this one very specific job, it was like tailor-made for me. At that point, I was working in warehouses, and every single job description that you needed to have for it, I could, I could do it with flying colors. It was like made for the job. And the pay for that job was so much higher than anything I was finding for anywhere else. I said, it was like, as soon as I saw it, I said, this job is mine. I was meant to see this. I'm going to get this job. I knew it inside my core. It's the first real and true thing I knew. I knew it. I was meant for this job for some reason. I'm going to get this job. I still didn't realize at that point that this was like God starting to guide me in the right direction. I just knew internally something was telling me for a fact this job is meant for me. So I went through the process of applying. I went to the interview and I got the job. Just like, in all reality, they offered me higher paid positions if I wanted to, which I did take. But my point is, then I start this job. After I start this job, it finally gives me the financial means to essentially leave the terrible relationship. After that happens, because it's a warehouse in all reality, it's me and a whole bunch of men for the most part. So in the beginning, I had issues with a lot of people wanting to get to know me. You know what I mean? And number one, I had just broken up with someone terrible. And number two, it was like everyone that was coming up to me and that I could tell wanted some time, you know what I mean? To wanted to see if I would be interested in them. You see what I'm saying? There was no spark anywhere. It was like an entire warehouse of options, I guess you could say. And it was like I could look around and it was just no, 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 that would not be my person. No, 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 no. And then a couple months or so after the breakup and everything, I'm in my warehouse at my job, like I said, amongst all these people who I just knew were not for me. I turn and I look and I see this one person. He doesn't see me because he's in a conversation, right? And I think that's what really got me, is like he didn't know I was looking. But as soon as I saw him, it was like this double take. It was like, whoa. It was so different from any type of feeling I had felt when I had looked at any of these other people. And I watched him for a second just having this conversation, and it was just automatically all of his, I could tell by his, I could just tell this guy is like everything. I didn't even see him there for more than, 10 minutes at that time. If that 5. And then, the next day or maybe a couple of days later, I saw him on a break, and right in front of everybody, I didn't care. I essentially complimented him and put myself out there for him. And from that point forward, it progressed into our relationship. And so in the beginning, right, we talked at work for a couple weeks before we hung out hung out in person, and really got to know each other first. And then when we hung out, we ended up having our first kiss at the end of the night. And the next morning after, now, like I said, this is my twin. I didn't know he was my twin at this point. I didn't know about tarot. I didn't know about spirituality. I didn't even know if I believed in God anymore, for real. I was dead asleep. And then my twin and I had our first kiss, and it was like something magical happened. In all reality, it's in the DNA. Anyway, so the next morning, I was raised 4.5 hours away from where I live now. So that next morning after I had, we had our first kiss and everything, I had to drive by myself this 4.5 hours back to where I'm from. And on that trip, something miraculous happened. Essentially, I was alone in the car driving, and I was actually pretty irritated because I had to leave early in the morning. I had to leave before sunrise even to get there at the time I needed to be there. When I left, I was irritated, pissed off, mad at my mom for blaming her for this. And then as I'm going, it gets to be about 6:30 and the sun's about to come up, and I start to realize what an asshole I am, because I'm about to truly witness something beautiful. A sunrise in this most beautiful scenic place I was driving through. It's just literally almost 4 complete hours of the most beautiful scenery in Pennsylvania you can drive through. And here I was complaining, when in all reality, I was about to receive the most beautiful miracle of this sunrise, to be able to watch. I should have been feeling so grateful. And that's when I started realizing that it's like, I don't know, I just started becoming overcome with this gratefulness rather than this sadness as the sunrise was coming up. And it was like I just started having these knowings on this trip that this was done by God. This was done by God for me. He did this so that I, you know what I mean? And as this sort of knowing kept coming in is when the first I'd ever felt like Kundalini, chills in my body that don't resonate from, or like they don't start from anything other than what I was thinking about. You see what I'm saying? It's different. It's not the same as normal chills. They go different places in my body, and that was the first time on this trip that had ever happened to me. Um, so as I'm driving, I'm starting to get more and more of these knowings that there's a reason that God has done this on this trip, that he's trying to speak to me. And then all of a sudden, so the number one thing is, because it's such a long trip, I kept losing radio stations. So I just hit the scan button. And every time I would scan, a new Christian station would come on. Like 3 times in a row, I scanned, and the next station was a Christian station again, which typically I wouldn't have listened to at all back then. But like I said, I was already realizing something big was happening on this car ride. God was talking to me. And this was the first time I had ever gotten signs and synchronicities like that in my entire life. So as I said, I start getting these inner knowings, more of this, of God talking to me inside. And it wasn't like I could hear a voice. It was just this knowing of inner fact. And the Kundalini tingles were circulating heavily when I was feeling or knowing a correct fact that God was trying to tell me. And literally on this first day, it was October 5th, 2019, what he told me on that car ride, what these inner facts that I knew on that first day right after I kissed my twin was. Basically, if I could translate it in 2 words, as if it were like God talking, he basically said, "Hi, Ashley, it's me, God. I'm here to essentially wake you up." Like, literally, he said, like, do you remember how, like, you know how you've always felt, Ashley, like you can't even imagine your life in 5 years because you just can't foresee anything, like nothing feels right, it just feels like it's always going to go bad again, like you don't have a purpose here. Well, now's the time for your purpose. You always did have a purpose. It's time for it now. And then still on this same first day, he said to me, "It's because the world is ending." It's because, and so then I'm like, at this point now, I'm knowing that I'm getting actual answers from God. I'm bawling my eyes out like half the trip, but with this super grateful feeling. Basically, what he told me about this world ending thing was it's going to be similar to like the Bible version, but like not exactly. I don't know how else to explain it. He told me this whole time on that first day, you won't know everything. You'll learn more in time. Another big thing that he was very sure to make sure I knew from that point was that I am protected. Don't worry, Ashley, you are protected now. You're protected. Let me guide you from this point forward. Just allow yourself to be pulled by me now, is basically what he was saying. And because he told me it was like the end of the world, I started asking questions. I started asking questions about like the world too, like, is it gonna be like a tribulation? Like, is this gonna be like apocalypse? What he did tell me, even on that first day, like I said, this is in October 2019. He said I can tell you there will be mass disease, and I can tell you there will be rioting. He said those 2 specific things to me. He said, again, he's like, but there's more to it. Like, you'll know more in time. You'll know more in time. I can't tell you everything right now. Like, you know what I mean? But that was 2 months before COVID started in China. COVID started in China in December of 2019, and I knew, and I was already telling people, my God's been fucking, like, I told people, my God's talked to me, told me that it's the end of the world and that we're going to see mass disease and rioting. And what do you know? We saw both of those in 2020. But he also told me too that that wasn't the concern, that it wasn't about that. Like, it wasn't about the bad stuff. I don't know how else to explain it. So then I finally get to my house, my mom's house. And I'm like floating on cloud 9 at this point. God just spoke to me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm ready to follow God anywhere from that point. You see what I'm saying? Oh, he also told me I had a partner. I forgot. There is more. In that first day, he also told me for like my personal life, he said, prepare to coming up here. You're going to write a book. I ended up writing 3. I plan on writing a real one too of all this knowledge. You're going to write a book. You're going to have a partner. You're going to end up, by the time this is done, with way more money than you could possibly imagine. Not possibly imagine, but like than you've ever thought would be for you. Does that make sense? Cause I'm like, really? Is God telling me I'm going to be rich? You see, like, and all, it was very odd. And he also told me that I would end up having a certain level of fame. I mean, I didn't even know tarot yet back then, let alone that I was going to be on YouTube. So now I get to my mom's, right? Now I'm like floating on cloud 9 as I walk in the door. I'm like, Mom, I'm like, I know this sounds weird, right? But I just had the most crazy experience. I'm pretty sure God just talked to me. From that point forward, I just started learning. It was like God was directing me to different things to look up, different things to ask people about. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. When it came to learning all this knowledge, the way that God was teaching me and guiding me was like, example, one of the first ones was when at the job, not my twin, it was a different friend of mine. He had a tattoo of a number 8 on his wrist. And for some reason, God was guiding me to this, to even, do you see what I'm saying? God was guiding me to ask about this and I didn't know. You see what I'm saying? Because it led to so many answers. But I asked him, I said, what's that 8? What's your 8 tattoo about? He said, oh, it's numerology. It's my life path number is what he said. So then that's where it started. Then I know, start there. Start with numerology, start with what's a life path number. And from there, it just became whatever tangent, whatever portion of what I was learning or reading felt more significant than the rest. Then I knew that God was telling me follow that tangent too. And it became, excuse me, not, I wouldn't call it going down rabbit holes. It was just kind of following the path that God was guiding me down of learning. And he was using my own mental thoughts to guide me where I was supposed to go. And I want you guys to start really trying to focus on seeing that in your life too, because he guides us. When thoughts are prominent or feel significant or they get repeated to us, we are meant to follow that path and look into it because there's some sort of hidden knowledge for us in it that will help us. But anyways, so back to my twin. So at this point, it became only about me. I had no clue that my twin was involved in anything of what just happened to me. At this point, I thought I was just learning that I'm a starseed, a light worker type thing. And that's where that first step of the spiritual evolvement happened for me. And then by the time it got to November, like I said, this was in beginning of October. Then it got to November 11th, actually, 11/11. And I didn't realize on that day that it was November 11th until after I learned the information. It was almost like God kept me from like checking to see what day it was until after he taught me what he needed to teach me so that I would know that it wasn't my mind tricking me, if that makes sense. Because basically on 11/11 is when he proved to me and to my twin that we are twins. Because I had learned up until that point now what a twin flame was, but him and I were so brand new. We were only dating for like a month. You know what I mean? At that point that I was definitely not going to say, oh, I must have just met my twin. You see what I'm saying? But then on 11/11, now that I had started getting into tarot a little bit, I was watching tarot readers online now. I was guided into that all since October. And one of the readings I watched on that day, it was a Pisces reading, which is what my twin is. My twin's a Pisces. I was watching I was kind of cross-watching, his. And that's when I knew that reading was so specific to what was happening in our lives. And it was completely about twin flames. And that's when I knew that partner that God had mentioned to me on that first day was my twin. Then after I watched this video, learned this, sent it to my person, he watched it and he's like, oh my God, like you're right. You see what I'm saying? Like it's so everything that's happening in our lives. That's when after that I realized that I just watched this on 11/11. Interesting. That's just more proof positive and synchronicities that God was giving me. Okay, so then that's when I realized, wow, this is my twin flame. So then I started researching twin flame. Then God starts taking me into a lot of other things. Learning religions, learning, like, spiritually evolving. All the while, me and my twin are trying to, start a new relationship, and he's not spiritual in this way at all. You see what I'm saying? He's much more grounded's not the way. Like, I don't mean it like that. He's much more about the 3D world. You see what I'm saying? Like, about going to work and about coming home from work and about what, you know what I mean, Earth life should be like. And it's harder for him to see up into the 4th and 5th dimension. And this is what started to cause a rift, because the more I was learning, the more he couldn't understand. I mean, in all reality, right? There were times where the things that I was learning, because as we were going through this relationship, I was writing all these notebooks of what proof. I have so much, well, that was the end, but I have so much like charts and diagrams and just all this stuff of proof and knowledge from everything I learned in the religions and everything I learned like in our natal charts and all of it. Like, literally, my twin and I's natal charts form, if you superimpose them and put them on top of each other, they form the symbol for Archangel Metatron, which is the one who protects. Like, look, you can see this is the shape of Archangel Metatron's symbol of protection, and it's all there. All of it is there. Like, but as our relationship kept going, and as I started becoming more and more spiritual and enlightened and only wanting to do the right things to get to this life that I knew God was teaching me was coming, I didn't know how yet. I didn't know why yet. I didn't know in what way. You see what I'm saying? I was learning it. He was teaching me. But anyways, there was this, that it became a disconnect. Do you see what I'm saying? Because what I've learned what I've learned now essentially is that in the masculines, they have essentially been locked down in different parts of themselves, to where they can't access the same understandings. A lot of it has to do with their frequency and what frequency they are naturally on, or on because of environmental factors, or, you see what I'm saying, low vibration, fear, anger, self-preservation, lower chakra stuff. There are a lot of divine masculines who are stuck there. And I was taught throughout all of this, all of my learnings about the twin flames and the what's happening for the end of the world stuff right now, that the whole reason why, like, I was put with him is because I essentially formed this upside triangle with God at the tip and me and my twin down here, and he essentially forms this triangle to protect and evolve both of us. So then I would be like here and here, and he's got essentially low vibration God in his core. As much as I have high vibration God, he's got low vibration God. And essentially, low vibration God would be what you would call in the Bible, like, the devil. That's the enemy. He's stuck with his version of God inside of him as a dark force. And I basically am here to help with, like, when him and I met, right? So when him and I met and him and I connected and him and I kissed or whatever, that protection of Archangel Metatron literally engulfed the both of us, and started us into this process of enlightenment. Because his God is low vibration, it's much slower, and it takes a lot longer for him to essentially end the same karmic cycles that I was also ending too. You see what I'm saying? That's why the separation comes. That's why the disconnect started to happen, because I was faster, way faster than he is even capable of being. His God, right? Like, I don't know how else to say it, has to enlighten as well. Okay? He's not going to get good advice from his version of God until his version of God enlightens as well, to then teach my twin properly inside. Does that make sense? And that's what's happening. So yeah, that's why these things are so slow. That's why the separations happen. But once and okay, so this is also too how the entire world is becoming fixed, right? Like I said, by him putting twins like this together, like me and mine, dark side versus light side twins. Now, not all twins are dark side, light side. I don't believe they're in. There's a lot of different types. I mean, they go all the way around the circle. There's middle ground ones, really extreme ones. I'm in a very extreme version, dark and light. You see what I'm saying? This is how, though, that the world will balance out, because now that we are connected and protected and in this enlightenment circle, because we connected, all of that enlightenment has to happen. It is happening. It's going to essentially neutralize the dark. It's going to neutralize the dark out of him, as it's already 90% done in me. You see what I'm saying? Like, whereas I'm probably like 90% done in neutralizing the dark inside of my half of the twin, of us as twins, he's probably like 47% done neutralizing the dark. You know what I mean? And the masculine needs to get to at least 50% neutralized before they can even start to hear the light. You see what I'm saying? I don't know how else to explain it. Until they are close enough to reach and touch the light, they'll never be able to get to the light. But God is doing this. He's putting all of these circumstances in masculine's life to make them close enough to reach the light. And once they can reach it, taste it, touch it, they'll keep climbing. And then there's no portion of the twins that are dark anymore. They only work for the light. And as God keeps putting together these twins and getting this enlightenment process happening all over the world, the only thing left after a certain amount of time is just neutralize dark and all light, using the dark to make brighter light, using two batteries, using a negative battery and a positive. Like, it's like there's like a battery. So each of us as individuals are our own batteries. We have the power to use our energy, store up our energy, and then push it out and create something within the, you know what I mean? That's how you manifest. But with twins, one twin has a negative charge overall and one twin has a positive charge overall. And when you can get those together and flowing in a concurrent way, they create a super battery. I don't know, you know what I mean? I only know as much as God can teach me, but yeah, essentially God's helping or teaching us how to become super batteries for the light. And ultimately this will negate all the dark in the world. we will become so powerful that and what we can manifest into the energy grid for the light as twins, when this is, by the time they all come back to, that they come back together, it's only going to propel what happens throughout the collective of the whole world faster and faster and faster, because more and more big super batteries for light are coming together to manifest in as big batteries and supercharge what's happening in the energy grid for the light. Because at the same time, each twin is negating the negative out of their own selves too. So it's like negative comes out of each little thing, and a lot of that's happening, and it's just creating more and more and more of that. And yeah, that's how this is kind of working. That's how New Earth is being created, especially from a twin flame perspective, from the twin flame side of things. Yeah. So I hope that helped you guys. I don't know, but yeah, that's what I have. So what happened to me. That's kind of like what I learned. That's the best way I can try and explain and visualize it to you, so that you can understand why this is happening and how it's happening energetically, and how that's actually translating into the world in a hopefully a visual sense. So yeah, let me know in the comments if it makes any sense. You can ask me questions. I'll try and answer them for you. All that stuff. Hit the follow button, hit subscribe, please. Personal readings, discount code there too, but in the description box. So thank you guys, and I love you all, and good luck with everything. It never works. Might as well just push the button.